Boldwood presents The Dinner Party, written by Nina Manning and read by Tom Allenby and Helen Keeley. Prologue. I am great at giving gifts. It is my superpower. People compliment me on it all the time, and I am very proud of all the times I have seen utter joy on the faces of the receivers. I take time to think about the small details, really homing in on the recipient, what their likes and dislikes are. If it would be the right gift for them at the right time of year, is it the sort of thing that they need in their life more than anything? Going through each option with complete precision until I am confident that I have made the right choice. Then I go about making that gift or event happen. I spend hours planning, right up until execution, making sure every tiny detail is just right. Seeing the look on their face is one of the most satisfying experiences of my life. It is why I do it. I do it to please others, not myself. I mean, why else do people give? But my last gift has caused some problems and made me wonder if I have lost the knack. But I've done it, and now I must live with the consequences. Chapter 1.
A surprise. You know I hate surprises.
Stig looks at me with that frustrated glare that I have seen so many times. I know it's not real. I know that it's not that he doesn't like getting gifts, it's just that he likes to feel in control. Ever since I have known him, it's been his default setting. He needs to know precisely what is always going on, and generally, if he can, have some involvement. But there is no way I can let this one out of the bag. It's too good an opportunity to tell him. I need to build up the suspense and the drama. It deserves the drama. I think you just say you hate surprises when you don't. Listen, have I ever let you down? Stig looks thoughtful, obviously casting his mind back to the myriads of gifts and excursions I have planned and executed over the years. I am a great present giver, you know that. I know I don't need to sell myself to my husband. We've been married for 5 years and he proposed on the anniversary of our meeting, which is very convenient as we only have one date to remember. I was over the moon when I realised I could give this gift to Stig for our 5th wedding anniversary. I didn't expect cracks to appear in our relationship so quickly, but they arrived, regardless. And this gift is hopefully going to give our marriage the lift it so desperately needs. Stig sits at the kitchen table and rests his chin in one hand.
So when will I get the surprise?
Tonight, obviously. I sit opposite him like an excited child. You did remember. Even though it feels as though we have been drifting apart these last few months, I want this to be a memorable occasion.
What? Have I missed something? Today is what?
Stig tries to sound convincing, but he never misses a special occasion. Every birthday, Christmas, Valentine's Day, anniversary, and even Easter is marked extensively, despite how things have been between us. I shake my head. Well, I don't care, Stig, I really don't, because this is such a great gift. I will get so much out of seeing your reaction.
So you don't care about an anniversary gift? 5 years in, buying for you gets a bit tricky.
Nuh-uh, I shake my head.
Well, I guess I had better have this returned to the jewellery store.
Stig lifts his hands from beneath the box, and I am more shocked about where the long rectangular velvet box he is holding has just appeared from. Did he have it taped to the underside of the table? He places it carefully on the table before him and nudges it slowly towards me. I put one hand to my mouth. Then I drop it and let my fingers graze the top of the box. I recognise the name of the shop embossed into the velvet. An image of what I think might be inside the box flashes through my mind. We had passed the store a few weeks back, and I had pointed out a necklace as I often did. I was intrigued by its ethical value, how it had been lovingly handcrafted and how it shone from its stand, and caught my eye. I pull the box closer to me as though it might be taken away from me, and Stig raises his eyebrows.
Open it then,
he says earnestly, and my heart leaps into my throat, because this is the man I fell in love with. This man can joke around but then hold me to ransom with his stare, or the sincerity of just 3 short words. I open the case, and the necklace is even more beautiful close up, and I gasp. I didn't even know I wanted it this much. It's so beautiful.
Well, you said you liked it.
Stig stands up and takes a bottle of wine from the fridge. I feel my heart sink. He can't even watch me put it on. I stand and look in the large mirror in our kitchen diner. It's perfect. I love it. Eventually he returns to the table, sits and smiles.
You're welcome. Now, is my present still better?
I look at him for a few seconds. Oh, absolutely.
Why are you driving so slow?
Stig says, and I look at him and laugh because he is wearing the eye mask that I asked him to put on so he couldn't see where we were going. It was the only one I could find to grab, and it was covered in pink lace. Because it's a surprise, and surprises are surprises until the last second.
Well, I hope this place has food because I am starving.
He is starting to sound annoyed. It had been hard to keep Stig from eating. He is 6'3" and eats like a horse most days. I peppered him with snacks all day, but of course it was evident that the evening would entail food, when all I had allowed him after breakfast was crackers and fruit. I touch the emerald lying just inside the cave of my neck. It feels nice, as if it should be there. And I find it gives me the confidence that I need this evening. A little piece of jewellery that has perhaps brought us that little bit closer. I glance around for a parking space, and I am amazed that there is one just 2 streets away from the venue, but it is still going to require a little navigation on my part. I open the car door and help Stig out. I lock the car, hold on to Stig, and steer him in the right direction. Nearly there, I say, as I almost topple off my heels on the cobbled pathway. It's a quaint part of Oxford, a short drive from where we live on the outskirts. I get us there in one piece, and I look up at the ornate building in front of me, the large, clear windows, the view of the conservatory in the background, and the greenery and plants that adorn the corners and edges, creating an outside-inside feel. The stark white napkins and crystal tableware glisten from the other side. I feel a flutter in my stomach. I made this happen. Okay, I'm going to remove your eye mask now, but please keep your eyes closed until I say so.
Okay.
Stig bends to let me slip the lacy number from his head. A couple walk ahead of us and smile at me. I ignore how exposed I feel at this silly yet intimate moment between Stig and me. I take his hand and squeeze it hard. You may open your eyes. I watch Stig open his eyes and squint a little. He stares at the name of the restaurant in front of him. Sapphire. He blinks and looks like he is trying to work out a difficult sum in his head. Stig? I go to touch his arm again, but I stop myself. It's been a long time. I'm not sure how he will react with too much close contact.
Is this Hector Bolson-Woods' place?
He finally says. Yes! I try to contain my excitement, but it sounds like a squeal. And I got us a table for tonight. I look up in awe at the building. I've been on the waiting list for 6 months. I nearly peed myself when they emailed to say vacancies were coming up, and one was on our anniversary. It was meant to be! I let my excitement bubble over. I'm trying to compensate. We both are. Stig looks stunned.
This really is a surprise.
My whole body feels tingly. I knew it. I knew he would be stunned. I knew this would be the best present I had ever given him thus far, and it couldn't have come at a better time. We needed something that would bring us back to one another. We had been far away in our minds and bodies for so long. I know how much you admire him. I've seen the algorithms on the laptop. I see you following his Instagram page when he landed at this restaurant in February. It's like you became obsessed. I saw you checking out his book in the store when it came out, and the paper was open on that piece about him the other day. We both loved him on MasterChef. We watched it like it was a religion for us. Well, me more than you, but still. Now we get to eat his food. For real. Stig sucks in a breath and blows it out, loud and long.
It looks expensive.
I recoil at his words, but I won't let them deter me. I was sure money would be brought up. It had been the theme of our conversations for the last 4 months. I move in closer to him. If you're worried about money, then don't. Once I knew we had the booking, I put some money away each month. I have enough for us to enjoy an evening here. I see the terror in Stig's eyes as he realises this expenditure had not been made into his monthly Excel spreadsheet, and I swallow down my frustration. Park it, Lily, I tell myself. He doesn't mean to be uptight. Sometimes we just have to kick back and live a little, I say, a little too forcefully, and pushed past him into the restaurant, not caring for a moment if he follows me or not. Inside, the maitre d' is on me immediately, as I begin soaking up the atmosphere, inhaling the myriad of scents. Reservation for Leonard, please, I say, and I cannot keep the smugness out of my voice. Stig arrives next to me, and I am relieved he decided to follow. He rubs under his eye, which he does when he feels self-conscious. The maitre d' taps an iPad, then looks up and smiles. She removes 2 menus from a pile on the dumbwaiter. Come with me, please. I raise my eyebrows at Stig, and we begin to walk through the restaurant. Stig stares straight ahead. Never one to seek attention, I can sense his discomfort, but I know that will pass when we're tucked up at our table. And when I see where we are headed, I am almost giddy with joy. The maitre d' stops at a semicircular table with high-backed soft furnishing on one side, enough room for both Stig and I to sit close to one another, but not on top of each other, and not opposite each other. They are called the honeymoon tables, and whilst I had put in a request for one in the any other information section on the booking form, I didn't expect that we would get one. How nice is this? I whisper as the menus are placed before us and the maitre d' disappears to let us settle ourselves. Stig looks shell-shocked. I know, it's a lot. This place is on fire. I read many reviews online last week and everyone raved about the food. There's a wine list here. Shall we have a look? I place it in front of Stig, who stares at it for a second and then looks at me. I know I am babbling and I'm nervous. I want this night to be perfect.
It's great, Lil. It really is, thanks,
he says. But I detect the insincerity in his voice and know he is only trying to appease me. I feel momentarily deflated. But then I know my husband. He'll come round. He picks up the wine list and begins perusing it. He lets out a slow whistle.
Pretty pricey,
he says. I know, but it's a treat. I touch his arm, then quickly retract it. The warm, inviting surroundings make me feel a sense of intimacy that I haven't felt for some time. But I don't want to make this feel forced or fake. Don't feel bad. You work really hard, we both do. A freakishly tall waiter appears at our table. He places a plate with something very small and tasty on it. Pissaladière, he says. I glance at Stig to see if he can remember what that is. I made it once about 2 years ago. It was nowhere near as good-looking as this. Anchovies and red onion tart, I say, and he nods. He orders the wine, and we both opt for sparkling water. I sit back and sigh, taking in my surroundings, trying to savour every moment. I take a bite of the tart and let out a small groan. Oh my God, that's good. Stig takes a bite, and I can see he is silently impressed. The wine and waiter arrive, and I hold up my glass to Stig. To us. Happy anniversary. He raises his glass, clinks it gently against mine, but he doesn't make eye contact. I gulp down my first glass of wine too quickly. The stress of trying to keep this a secret from Stig has been too much at times. I've almost blurted it out on so many occasions purely by accident. I feel the wine go to my head on an almost empty stomach, as I had been saving my appetite for this evening, knowing I wanted to savour every flavour. We study the menu, reading the short descriptions, which consist of single words: fennel, wild garlic, hazelnut and honey. There are no details about how the dish will look or be prepared. We must trust the chef. When the waiter returns to take our order, I feel lightheaded from the wine. We tell him our selections, and then just before he walks away, I ask, Is Hector in the kitchen today? Stig looks at me.
Lil.
There is a warning in his voice. I look at him. It's fine, Stig. I look back to the waiter.
He is today, yes.
He walks away, and my body convulses. Jesus, Stig. The actual bloody Hector Bolson-Woods is in there right now, about to make our food. Stig looks shocked again, and I wonder if this is all too much for him. He is reserved, never likes to make a fuss or draw attention to himself. We are opposites in that respect.
Well, let's just eat up and enjoy it like everyone else,
he says, and I hear a tension to his voice, so I top up his wine glass. Relax, I remind him.
Excuse me, madam.
I look up and see the waiter is back again.
You have been cordially invited into the chef's kitchen for your meal.
He begins to place our wine and glasses onto a tray.
Would you like to follow me? What does that mean? What is he saying?
Stig sounds panicked, but I'm already standing up, unable to believe what I am hearing, but not wasting a second in case he changes his mind or someone else gets there before us. It means we've been invited to the kitchen to have our meal cooked for us by, I presume, Hector himself. Stig groans, but this time it's clearly from despair. I know I do this. I know I make him do things slightly outside his comfort zone, but you must grab all opportunities or there will be no anecdotes. We will just become very boring versions of the people we once were. I walk ahead, following the waiter, occasionally glancing back at Stig, who is looking less than enthused. I know I'm being selfish now, but I am not about to pass up an opportunity like this. If he finds it desperately cringe, I'll find a way to make it up to him. Right now, all I can see is an Instagram photo and the hundreds of likes and comments. We pass through a door and arrive in a narrow, stark white hallway. I can see an open door to a room with a large grey sofa, a small table and chairs, and an immaculately tidy large desk with an Apple iMac. That must be Hector's office.
This way, please.
We follow the waiter left down the hallway as it opens into a larger space with a seating area. A large dining table that would seat 6 is set for 2. Set back behind the table is a small but well-equipped kitchen, again immaculately clean. Through a large open door I can hear the action of where the central kitchen must be, the clang of pans, the holler of orders, from a male voice who I can only presume is Hector. The smells are hitting my nose and setting my stomach growling.
Please take a seat here. Hector will be here with you shortly.
We slide into our seats, and I look at Stig. Fuck, I say.
Oh, Lil.
Stig says, Come on, Stig. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. We are about to have our food, our anniversary dinner, cooked by one of the most famous chefs in the world right now. Why can't you embrace it? I hiss at him, aware that Hector could walk through those doors at any minute. And I don't want him to see me whisper arguing with my husband. I sense his presence before I see him. Looking back, I think not only did I feel the room ignite with an energy I have never felt before, but I noticed Stig squirming in his seat, his eyes drawn to the doorway, his mouth slightly agape.
I really think we should just go, Lil.
Stig's voice is just a whisper in the background. Then I hear his voice, a deep booming sound lilted with the aristocracy that runs through his veins, and that he is so famed for.
Ah, Mr. and Mrs. Leonard, it's a pleasure to see you both.
Chapter 2. Hector is a man who commands a room. He wears a stark white chef's jacket with black checked trousers when he enters. I had imagined him to be in something grey, or all in black, looking a bit more modern, but he seems to have gone for a traditional chef look. My mouth suddenly feels dry from the wine, and I glug some water before I stand up to shake his hand, hoping that Stig is about to follow suit.
Mrs. Leonard, I presume. It's a pleasure.
I had words prepared to say to Hector, but they have evaporated, along with all the moisture between my lips. I hear Stig shifting next to me. Hector has his hand stretched out towards Stig.
Mr. Leonard, it's delightful to have you both.
Stig stands too, but has to lean across the table to reach Hector, who I notice doesn't make an effort to meet him halfway.
Appreciate you doing this for us. My wife, she loves this sort of thing.
Stig gives Hector's hand a quick limp shake. Hector has a smirk on his face.
This sort of thing? Cooking, eating, is that not your sort of thing, Mr. Leonard?
Stig.
I'm sorry.
Hector cocks his head. It's his nickname. It's all I've ever known of my husband, to be honest, I say with a small laugh, wondering if Stig will feel the need to explain the origins of the name he adopted before I met him.
Aha, of course, Stig. It must be from the TV program, right?
There was a pause, as though Stig is unsure how to reply.
Yes, I let my hair grow wild when I was in my 20s.
Apparently some people he met when he was travelling called him it, and that was it. It stuck, I chip in, sensing Stig's discomfort.
How odd,
Hector announces,
trying to shake off a previous persona.
Stig glares, but doesn't respond. I feel a surge of familiarity, the way Stig stays cold about his past. There are so many things I wish I knew about him that he refuses to share.
They aren't important,
he recites each time. Now here he is acting the same way with Hector.
Stig of the dump,
Hector says, and laughs loudly, which breaks the awkward silence, and I laugh along with him. Stig barely cracks a smile. I can see Hector puts him out, and I don't understand why, when Hector has gone out of his way to cook privately for us. I want to punch Stig in the arm, tell him to lighten up.
Yes, that's me. Well, I'd say you've done well for yourself, young Stig. Here you are in your fineries, eating in my restaurant.
He turns to me.
A beautiful wife? Things couldn't have turned out too shabby for you, Stig.
Hector says his name as though he is trying it out, playing with it at the end of the sentence.
I've no complaints, Hector.
The three of us stand momentarily, an inane grin spreading across my face. Hector claps his hands together, and a shock goes through my body.
Well, now, you didn't come here to stand around. I believe you wish to eat.
He motions for us to sit back down again at the table.
Morris,
he calls, and a young, skinny man appears. Hector says something quietly to him, and he disappears as fast as he arrives. Hector walks past the table and behind us into the kitchen.
This was already here when we bought the place, can you believe it? Saved me thousands.
Hector opens a fridge and begins to root around.
I think you were having the pigeon, weren't you, Stig?
Stig clears his throat.
I was, yes. And the fennel salad for you. May I call you by your first name?
Lily. I'm Lily, I say breathlessly. I am still overwhelmed by the whole process.
Well, Lily, let's get you fed.
That was phenomenal, I say, as a waiter clears our starter plates. Hector brings more wine and pours some into a fresh glass.
I save this for my finest customers. Try it. It's almost 20 years old. I have 2 more crates in the cellar.
Hector hands me a glass, and I swirl it around. I take a sip, and I hear myself moan in delight. That is, I look to Stig. Oh my God, Stig, try it. It melts in your mouth. It's so palatable. Is that the word, Hector?
Wine can't melt in your mouth, Lily.
Stig says, and I throw him a stare.
I've never heard anyone describe it that way before, Lily. It's a beautiful description, and I know exactly what you mean.
Hector looks at me. His eyes are smiling. I want to give an I told you so look to Stig, but I bathe in Hector's compliment. I am not a wine connoisseur, but I know when something tastes good, even if I don't have the correct vocabulary. Hector laughs.
And with that sound you emitted, it has to be something special, right?
I feel myself blush at the sound of pleasure. Then I look to Stig to see his reaction. He takes a glass from Hector and sips. He nods.
Very nice.
Hector eyes Stig for a second and laughs again.
Very humble, your man, isn't he?
Oh, he hates a fuss, don't you? I grab Stig's arm. He looks at me, and I see a flash of anxiety in his eyes, and I realise I am holding on too tight. I know I have had too much to drink, and I need to calm down a bit. But this is too exciting, and Hector is so friendly and attentive. The way my cheeks coloured a moment ago makes me realise that I cannot remember the last time someone had that effect on me. It must have been Stig in the early days of our relationship. Sorry, I mouth at him and let go. Hector takes a seat at the round table, opposite us both, and I steal a look at Stig, but I can't read his face.
So what brought you here tonight, Lily?
Hector leans into me as he speaks.
Are you a fan of my work?
I hear Stig suck in a breath next to me. Fan makes you sound as though you're a pop star, but yes, seriously, I do appreciate your style, and I have followed you for some time. On the socials, I add quickly, not round the streets. I laugh loudly at my own joke. Hector laughs too, and it doesn't seem forced. He has a pleasant aura, and I feel relaxed around him, and I don't just think it's the wine.
Well, that's the funny thing, Lily. Food has become such a fashionable commodity, and so we, the chefs, have become icons in the eyes of many.
I nod enthusiastically. It is ridiculous, now you've said it, that eating, the fundamental act of survival, has become a hobby, a leisure event, something we spend hundreds, even thousands on at a time. I know this, yet I pretend it's not happening, especially when too many are going hungry. I say forlornly.
You are not only beautiful, but a wise and perceptive woman, and I admire you for showing such humility. That's why I give a percentage of the bill to help fund projects in Liberia. Wells, schools, and projects to help make families self-sufficient. It's very liberating, and my guests feel they're also doing their part. I understand the dichotomy between wanting to eat out and enjoy a meal and wanting to feed the hungry. I'm glad to have met someone who feels that too.
Wow, that is something, Hector. I wish others would join you in your plight. You don't talk about that enough on your socials. You should, I say, and he looks at me thoughtfully.
I don't, because I don't wish to sound like I'm pushing my choices down people's throats.
I work for a charity, Hector. I push that down people's throats all day.
Fabulous. What is the charity?
Hector moves an inch closer, which is not a huge move, but enough to say that he is invested in this conversation. In me. It's a family charity. We assist families who have lost a parent, who are bereaved, or have multiple children, or have a parent suffering with mental health issues. We assist by providing them with a buddy, a volunteer who can signpost, listen, help with the washing up, just spend time with them, a listening ear.
I take my chef's hat off to you, Lily. That is highly commendable. Stig, you must be proud of your wife.
Hector turns to face Stig.
Oh, very proud.
Stig manages a smile. He seems a little looser, and I hope he is finally starting to enjoy himself.
And it's your anniversary tonight, is that right? All day,
Stig says dryly. It was meant as a joke, but it sounds crass under the spotlight of Hector's kitchen, next to the man himself.
Well, I hope he appreciates you, Lily.
Hector says with a wink.
And how many years, may I ask? The big 5.
Stig says, trying to add a lightness to his voice. But I know it's only going to go downhill from here. Stig has had very little to offer all night.
And children?
Hector asks, looking at me and then Stig. A few uncomfortable seconds pass before I eventually speak. No children, I say, looking down at my hands.
Oh, well, you're still so young. You have all the time.
Hector smiles at me, and I force a smile back at him, feeling the energy pouring from Stig. It's as though I can read his thoughts. Why don't you want to have children, Lily?
But you must be, 40 now, Stig? I can tell by the lines around your eyes.
Hector points to his own eyes.
I went to Liberia on my 40th last year, spent some time in the orphanage we built over there. Well, now you're just trying to make us look bad,
Stig says, and I look at him to see if he is being serious. But it doesn't matter, because Hector is so damn friendly and accommodating and not at all offended.
I know it's a privilege, but it's all I ever wanted to do, help others. I fell into cooking. It was never something I intended. It just about pays the bills, and I enjoy it, so that's enough for me.
I hear Stig shift in his chair. Again, it's almost as if I can listen to his thoughts out loud. I wonder if I weren't here whether Stig might reveal to Hector how my working in charity drives him to distraction, how I work too many hours for not enough money.
Don't give up the charity work, Lily. I can see it's who you are, and it's in your heart.
I slurp some more of the delicious wine. I'm feeling lighter than air now. I got headhunted by this company. They want to pay me double what I was earning.
And it was a shame to pass up the opportunity.
Stig butts in. Hector nods.
I get it. We become so bogged down with the idea that money can solve all our problems. What I see is a happy, blossoming woman.
I feel Hector's hand on my arm, and I look down to check I'm not imagining it. Stig has turned his body away from the table and is sipping his wine. He hasn't noticed. I feel the softness of Hector's hand against my skin, and at the same time, the tension from Stig. Turning down the job was a bone of contention for many months, but I stuck to my guns. Money doesn't matter. My happiness at my job does. He understood it in the end, but I know he still doesn't agree with me. Sometimes I wonder why he obsesses over money and finances, but that is never something I can talk to him about. He closes up whenever I bring it up. It's as though he is somehow now ashamed of who he is deep down, and as though it has left its mark on him in some way. Thanks, I say, and feel a little goofy. Hector claps his hands lightly this time.
On with the mains, no rest for the wicked,
he adds with a wink. Hector is far too close to us in the kitchen. Even with the clanking and banging of plates, starting a conversation about what is happening would be impertinent. But I can slice the atmosphere between Stig and me with the butter knife I am holding. There is so much to say about this extraordinary experience, but we will all have to wait until later. I just hope I haven't made things between us worse than they already are. Chapter 3. I wake with my mouth feeling as though it has been stuffed with cotton wool, and my head has been packed with shards of metal. I'm not good after drinking lots. The latter part of the evening is a blur. The main course was followed by dessert, and then Hector got out the limoncello. There were definitely liqueur coffees. Stig is not in bed next to me when I turn over. I feel the space where he usually lays next to me. It's cold. I check the time on my phone. It's just after 10. I sit up, surprised at how late I slept. Stig will have gone for a run already. Maybe he will stop at our favourite bakery on the way back and pick up the crème anglaise-filled croissants I love. Then I have a flashback to what I ate last night and realise I have fulfilled my calorie quota for the entire week, with the alcohol on top of the 4 courses. I spot water on the bedside table and gulp down the entire glass. I pull on a cardigan and wander into our upstairs office, where Stig works from time to time, but has also doubled up as a second spare room for when friends come to stay. I stand in the room and am overcome with emotion for what this room could and should have been. Luckily, we never got around to decorating it, or putting in a cot or a mobile. Every month for the last year, Stig has looked at me with expectation. We talked of having children before we got married, and now, with Stig getting to 40 and wanting to have somewhere to work from when he is at home, I know he is losing hope. The dream is parked, yet the looks of curiosity and eventually, is it disappointment? I wasn't sure. From friends and family. I feel like I am in a museum, a strange artifact that they need to observe. I know only a handful of women who are still childless at 35. I didn't ever imagine I was going to be part of that club. But it still doesn't feel right to bring a child into this marriage when things are the way they are. My friend Emily told me not to allow a baby to come along to be the glue in our marriage. I think I love Stig, but after 5 years I thought he would have revealed more of himself to me. There is still this gaping hole between us that Stig refuses to see. I leave the spare room, go into the kitchen and make myself coffee. As I sit at the table, thirstily trying to sip the hot beverage, snippets of last night come back to me and play out in front of me like short films. I begin to squirm at one point, as the finger of mortification bears down hard upon me. I had been fangirling hard. Stig probably hates me this morning. No wonder he was up and gone and still hasn't returned. I was certain it was the perfect present. Yet as the night progressed, Stig seemed to get more and more uncomfortable. I would apologise to Stig for the big showy dinner and promise to take him somewhere quieter, where the two of us could just be. That was more his style. I wanted the dinner at Sapphire to impress him, to bring the spark back and to remind him that we are 2 fun individuals who chose to be together. Right now, I feel I have driven a wedge further between us. I picked up my phone and opened my photo library to cheer myself up. 3 images were taken last night. A selfie of Stig and me before we had headed out, one of the starters and one of the 3 of us. Me, Stig, and Hector Bolson-Woods. Me on one side, Stig on the other, and Hector sat between us, rosy cheeks from cooking, a small grease stain on the front of his otherwise immaculate white jacket, and a smile that stretches across his entire face and finishes at the tips of his eyes, which are half closed. He looks genuinely happy. We look like 3 friends. I wonder if it is too early to post to Instagram, and if Stig would mind. I strongly dislike people who are barely back from a day or night out before they upload 257 images to Facebook, ready to receive comments and likes to boost their serotonin levels. But I am partial to the odd Instagram post, showcasing the simple but what I consider sophisticated life. I like to, as Stig puts it, show off a bit. I know why I do it. Whenever we get to do something a bit fancier, I want people to know. It's a terrible affliction and I hate myself for it. We do okay. We managed to scrape the money together to buy the house we were meant to raise a family in, but we are mortgaged up to our eyeballs. Stig works like a horse to keep the payments up. I do my bit too, but Stig's money tops mine and I'm fine with that. But Stig is not. He knows I can do so much more and bring in a higher income. and I agree with him. But I love my job. How many people can say that these days? We appear to everyone as though we are on top of our game, that we are winning at life. One friend even dubbed us as a power couple, which Stig became disgruntled at. Afterwards, he told me in private he didn't want to be seen that way. I look again at the photo of the three of us. Me, Stig, and Hector. And I can't help but smile. I look drunk, there is no denying that, but I also look happy. And dare I say it, pretty. I am always so critical of the images I see of myself. It is rare to see one that seems to capture a speck of my soul, something the static image can't retain. Without thinking about it for too long, I upload the photo to Instagram and type a few words to accompany it. Well, this was an unexpected twist. Thank you, Hector Bolson-Woods. That was a truly spectacular evening. I tag Hector in the post under his name, where he has some 3 million followers, and sit back, knowing that the questions will soon begin flying in, along with multiple likes. What was I doing there? How did that come about? What was the food like? Is Hector as brilliant in person as he is on TV? The front door opens, and Stig walks through into the kitchen in his running shorts and vest. His hands are empty. No treats from the deli, then. Hey, I say.
Hey,
he says back, sweat dripping from him, and I try to ascertain the tone of his voice. Is he mad that we spent the evening with Hector Bolson-Woods? Is he frustrated that I drank so much? Stig fills a glass with water from the tap and drinks it all, whilst facing the window onto the garden. Good run? I ask, trying to sound as though I'm not creeping.
Not my best.
Stig puts the glass in the dishwasher, always so neat and tidy. How are you feeling? Bit hangover?
I didn't drink as much as you, Lily.
Stig's words sting. I take a deep breath. I do feel rough, so I know it's true. I can't deny how much I drank last night. Shall we have brunch? I feel my stomach turn at that thought. I'm not hungry, but I want to bridge the gap that has opened up between us even more between Stig and me overnight. Maybe just some fruit and toast, I say, and he nods. I open the fridge. Stig is still next to the sink, looking out of the window. I glance down at his arm and notice a long graze. I suck in a breath. Stig, your arm! He looks down slowly at it, as though he has only just noticed. It doesn't look fresh, but it is new.
I grazed it against the restaurant wall last night,
he says, and I feel my gut weaken. I had been a mess. I had ruined our anniversary, and now he has marks on his skin to prove my irresponsibility. Stig is not a big drinker, but I should have at least let him be the one to get a bit tipsy whilst I watched out for him, as last night was supposed to be so much more than just a dinner. It had been an opportunity for us to reconnect. Oh my God, does it hurt? I go to touch it and he flinches.
It's fine. It's a graze, it's not infected or anything.
Okay, as long as you're sure. I'm sorry, I didn't know you had hurt yourself.
You didn't know much after the brandy came out. I didn't know you were such a keen brandy drinker.
I laugh, but I feel my stomach burn with acid and I think I might be sick. I'm not, I don't know, I just got carried away by the situation. Hector is very persuasive. Stig laughs, but it sounds harsh. What? I say. Convincing you to come to the kitchen to dine was an experience. One you'll never forget, right? Stig clears his throat.
I will never forget it. That's for sure.
I'm sorry it was too much for you. I know you like things low-key, and that was the original plan. Go in, eat dinner, and leave. Then Hector invited us in. Well, you know I couldn't say no to that. That will never happen again. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Stig sighs.
Yes. It was that.
He looks at me for what feels like the first time today.
Thanks, Lil. It was a great gift.
I smile but feel a flutter in my tummy. Is it just my gut still churning from the alcohol? But before I have time to mull it over any longer, the doorbell trills loudly through the carpetless hallway, which we still haven't finished. The tiles I have seen and want are way more expensive than I had thought. I'm not very good at reading the small print, and the cost per tile is not within our budget this month. Or for the rest of the year. Not until Stig gets that pay rise he has been edging towards for the last 6 months. We need it more than ever. The credit cards have been mounting up, and I don't like the thought of being in that much debt. and I am certainly not due any bonuses or rises anytime soon. Stig wanders wordlessly to the front door and swings it open. I begin taking out fruit from the fridge and flick the kettle on for our coffee. I hear a deep male voice that isn't Stig's, so I peer around the kitchen door to get a look down the hallway. There is a man in a biker helmet handing a small package to Stig. A courier? Stig slams the heavy door, and the sound echoes through the hallway again. We need to make some decisions soon, as the lack of flooring, stripped back bare walls and no furniture means there is nothing to absorb the sound. But I am not ready to say goodbye to my dream tiles just yet. Was that a courier? I ask as he arrives back in the kitchen. I lean over him and look at what is in his hand. Mr. and Mrs. Leonard is embossed onto a grey, glossy envelope. Stig remains stationary, staring at the envelope.